So there's this comedy quiz show called Big Fat Quiz of the Year, which, unsurprisingly, involves comedians getting together, making jokes and reflecting on the previous events of the year. Now, considering that it's a British show and that the two most widely publicised events in the UK last year were the Olympics and the Diamond Jubilee, does it at all surprise you that they would be making jokes about this? Well, the Daily Mail, a conservative newspaper which is best described as being Britain's mildly less extreme version of Fox News, thinks, yes, the ideal reaction to such a trivial, banal and predictable occasion is to get ridiculously offended and fucking lose your shit. Outrage after drunken British comedians guzzle wine and trade obscene jokes about Obama, the Queen and Susan Boyle during pre-recorded New Year's Eve programme. Well, that headline isn't exaggerated at all. What a nonsensical thing to complain about. So they got drunk and they had a laugh. Good for them. I bet the same thing happened in countless other households around Britain during the holiday season, funnily enough. The only difference was that they were put on television in front of an audience while they did it. Big fucking deal. If you have a problem with broadcasting this, then you have a problem with reality. Within minutes of the annual quiz show starting, guests began to make infantile jokes about the Queen and the Diamond Jubilee celebrations. Of course! How can you possibly be so dim-witted and stupid that you take issue with an annual comedy quiz show making jokes about the events of the year? That's what the show is for, you moronic fucking cunts. And if they want to make the jokes infantile, that's their prerogative. Marlborough-educated Whitehall, why bring that up? Is he not allowed to make rude jokes just because he went to a private school? What a narrow-minded view on life. Said he had a theory about why the Queen had stood up throughout the Jubilee pageant on the Thames. He then made a crude joke linking it to the fact that Prince Philip was taken ill with a bladder infection soon afterwards. Oh, how dare he! The Queen must have such a tough life. The fact that he's subjected to such puerile jokes like this is an outrage. I can only imagine the deep emotional scars she must be suffering from. I mean, being the subject of national celebration must be so tough. It must be torture. And now she has people making jokes about her. Now that's just horrific. Not spared, the British comedians railed into President Obama, saying crass things about what he did in the Oval Office. They said, as a joke, that he put a condom on and had a posh wank while he was pretending to work. This might make some people laugh because subversion of people in power is a very common and popular aspect of comedy, especially satire. And generally speaking, the image of someone rich and powerful doing something quite normal, like masturbating, can be quite funny because it's an oxymoron. It creates a surprise and hence people laugh. Your failure to understand these basic elements of humour baffles me. And this not spared bollocks is ridiculous. He's the bloody re-elected President of the United States. Of course they're going to have a stab at him. This is a person who, throughout the course of 4 years, has thoroughly exercised the use of unmanned drone strikes, authorising 6 times more than George Bush did in his 8 years of hell, killing hundreds of children. So please, cut these people a bit of slack and excuse them for having the audacity to make a joke about him having a wank in the Oval Office. This is a selection of the more vulgar jokes from the show that aired at 9 p.m. Readers may be offended by some of the material, but we've included it so people can make up their own minds as to whether it was suitable for broadcast. What a joke! Don't be so ridiculous and pretend that this is meant to be a balanced article. Of course it isn't. Firstly, by putting the word jokes in inverted commas, you imply that they barely even qualify. Secondly, you said that they're vulgar. Thirdly, this is just a selection. How are your readers meant to tell that you haven't just cherry-picked the most offensive jokes from a show, the majority of which might have been relatively tame? But that aside, let's read some of them out, because I want to give my subscribers the hearty laugh that they deserve. In 2012, we had the wettest summer on record, thanks to 50 Shades of Grey. That's quite a funny joke. Would you like to understand why? The phrase, in 2012 we had the wettest summer on record, implies that the word wettest is referring to the weather. However, later on in the sentence, this expectation is not met, and the word wettest is revealed to have a sexual meaning, which is tied in with the release of a sexually explicit book in the summer of 2012. Thus, it creates a surprise, making the audience laugh. It fits the conventional structure of a joke, and most importantly, it is intended to be funny. Just because you are such an uptight, humourless prude that you're probably frightened and ashamed of your own fucking genitals, that doesn't mean that it's not a joke. Britain went back into a recession, so it's a relief we didn't piss all our money away on a giant sports day and a party for an old lady. That's not vulgar. I mean, the only reason you've said it's vulgar is because it's anti-conservative. And maybe it uses the word piss. Oh God! Hypothetically, imagine if people had been making complaints about a comedian who had made some jokes about Islam or immigration, for example. Oh, how the Daily Mail would lap that up. They'd be using their catchphrase left and right. Political correctness gone mad. And then, I can pretty much visualise how the title would be, how the headline would be. It'd be leftist thugs hurl abuse at renowned comedian for daring to laugh at Islam. Well, maybe that's a bit exaggerated, but it'd certainly be a lot closer to that than the headline of this article. And it would be a different kind of Daily Mail whining. There wouldn't be nearly as much cosseting involved. And rightly so. I think people should be allowed to laugh at whatever they find funny. But to say that laughing at Islam is fine, but laughing at the Queen and Barack Obama isn't, is outrageously hypocritical. I also saw another article with the following headline: Misogynist Comedians and Women Who've No Self-Respect by Amanda Plattel. Generally speaking, it's just a series of butthurt comments about the fact that they made some crude jokes about sex. Of course, no examples of these crude jokes were given, but never mind, big deal. I don't see how having a relaxed, fun, healthy and open-minded attitude towards sex somehow makes you a misogynist. But here's the ironic thing. Amanda Plattel works for a newspaper with a section called Female, where the obviously inferior members of our species can read some even more inferior news. That's right, they can take a break from reading about those damn blacks and instead read about the things that women are supposed to be interested in. Like fashion, style, clothes, hair, skincare and celebrity gossip. What more could you ask for? To the writers at the Daily Mail, and I doubt you'll ever see this or develop the open-mindedness required to get to the end of a video criticising you, but I'll say what I'm going to say anyway. You write for arguably the most embarrassing news source in the UK. Seriously, your paper is literally an embarrassment. If you're a youngster and you have friends around at your house, and there's an elderly relative in the corner, in an armchair, reading their copy of the Daily Mail, you don't want your friends to fucking see that shit. Otherwise you risk a long, awkward silence as you walk slowly up to your bedroom and explain quietly to your friends that they're old, senile, and devoid of any social understanding whatsoever. It's like having a nice Christmas dinner with your family and then having your gran, mid-conversation, utter the word nigger as though it weren't a problem. It's embarrassing as hell to anyone who cares about social progression. Stop complaining about comedians saying funny things and go back to exaggerating statistics about immigration. Oh, and if you're offended by the things I've said in this video, fine. Feel free to insult me.